Nah, fuck it. We'll wing it.
Well, all right. Well, we're winging it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Welcome to the Feral and Unfiltered podcast. I'm Cat Jack.
And I'm Red. Whoa.
I know. You're ready for me to use fake names.
Jesus.
I got to keep you guessing, bitch.
Yeah, every time.
Oh my gosh. It's been a while since we've been in the studio.
It's been a hot minute.
Usually, we don't have much of a plan for what it is we're going to talk about on the podcast.
But today we do.
Today,
wait.
we have
And
a plan.
before we do, I really want to put a warning out there for anyone who is going to get offended today, because you will.
Yeah.
So here's the warning right here.
Huh?
Okay.
There's your
We shall
warning.
Proceed.
So, we've recently had an experience together. So you guys remember in the very beginning of the podcast, because of course we have literally ones of fans, and they've all been watching us since the very first episode, about how we live in Forks, Washington.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even know Twilight was a thing. I mean, I was dimly aware of the franchise, that it existed and that it was around before I moved here, but I didn't know that it took place in Forks. Like, that's how removed I was from it. I now live in Forks, Washington, surrounded by Twilight things all the time. And when we first started the podcast, I told you I've not seen the movies. I've not read the books.
And you'll never see the
And
movies.
I will never see the movies or read the books.
Here's a clip right here.
Yeah. And I have not read the books. I have not seen the movies. You can't make me. I don't want to. I am Buffy years old, not Twilight years old.
From past.
Yeah.
Yep.
I told you I would never see the movies or read the books. That turned out to be a lie.
It wasn't really a lie, except, you were kind of forced into it.
Yes. So, my daughter and her bestie and my granddaughter came to visit. Both of my granddaughters were here to visit, and Alyssa wanted to watch Twilight, and her bestie Charlie also wanted to watch Twilight
In Forks.
because we're in Forks because we got to watch Twilight, and they were Twilight fans, and I'm just like, what am I gonna do? Tell them no, they're so cute and they're having such a good time, and they want to be Forksy and in Forks and do Twilight things, and I don't know, man.
They begged you.
They did.
Pretty damn hard.
They
too.
did, and I'm like, all right, let's do it. Now I'm gonna preface this by saying, I'm still not gonna read the goddamn books, okay? I will not. But we did watch the movies, and I have some very definite opinions about this.
All right, but we got to start for each movie, though.
Yeah.
Because we watched all 4 of them over the weekend.
I have a couple of things I do want to say about this, though. If you were a Twilight fan, good. Genuinely good. I do support people being fans of things that they enjoy, even if they're not things that I like.
Right.
I don't think that just because I don't like something that, spoiler, I didn't like it. I don't think that just because that I don't like something that you shouldn't be a fan of it or that it shouldn't exist. I'm not one of those people.
Mm-hmm.
However, once we started getting into Twilight, I kept waiting for the redeeming things to come through for like,
right.
Oh, that was a cool moment. I can see why people liked it. No, it never happened. At no point did it ever happen. Also, this is not my very first exposure to Twilight at all. So what you're about to look at here.
What is your first exposure to Twilight, Kat Jack?
So Twilight was around
Uh-huh.
and in the 2010s and 20-teens, and when the movies were coming out. And during that period of time, I happened to have been a professional dominatrix working in Las Vegas, Nevada under the moniker of Mistress Rowan. And I got hired by Twific, which is a Twilight fan fiction meetup group of some kind. And they had a convention in Las Vegas.
Okay, but how many people were there? Was it surprisingly a lot?
It was a lot.
Oh,
It was
man.
many hundreds of people, which I did not anticipate when I entered the lecture hall. I thought I was going to be...
Hundreds.
So anyway, why would they hire a professional dominatrix named Mistress Rowan? This is my speaker's badge. I still had it I didn't even know. I was walking around this morning talking about what we were going to talk about today. Robs goes, we still have your speaker badge from that. I was like, why? And he goes, because I saved your speaker badges from everything. So he's got them all.
That's great.
So as a professional dominatrix, I spent more time traveling and lecturing toward the end of my career than I did whipping ass for money, which was fun. Both were. But I got contacted by this group somehow because I had advertisements that, hey, if you're looking for a corporal punishment mistress in Las Vegas, you could have hit me up at that time. And then I would hit you up at a time I said. Anyway.
That's what you said.
That's what I said. They hired me to come address their group and to teach them how to write better smut, because they felt that a lot of the BDSM elements within their fan fiction were not accurate enough. Guys, I wish I was making this up.
They weren't accurate enough?
They weren't accurate enough. They didn't, they wanted somebody to come talk to them about BDSM culture, about BDSM lifestyle, to give them some new ideas, to show them, so that I brought my bag of tricks. I had a big table. I laid out all my tools. Yes, I have tools. No, I didn't get rid of them. Mind your business.
I've never seen them.
We'll talk after. So anyway, this is years ago. This is in 2012, it says on this badge here. And I told them in the emails, like, as I'm getting ready to go to the speaking engagement, like, hey, I will come speak to you guys for money because I will do things for money. You're going to pay me to talk? Like, I was going to do that for free. But I told them I have not read the books. I have not seen any of these movies. And generally, my opinions of this, the little that I have been exposed to, are not good. And the lady who was organizing, I wish I could remember her name because she was very funny. She goes, perfect. Absolutely perfect. Just come tell us what you really think. Like, we actually want an outsider to come in and talk to us about all of this. Okay. And I showed up and I literally, like, I spent the first 10 minutes just ripping apart the little bit I did know about Twilight, because my general impressions were, she's 16, he's over 100, this is a fucking problem. What makes it a problem when old men fuck with little girls is not that they've got wrinkles. It's that they've got experience. That's the thing that makes it perverse and fucked up. So, just so we're clear, you guys paid me to come here to talk to you about how to write better gross things about this situation, which is already gross. Right. And I have an audience full of middle-aged women, smiles on their faces, go, yes. And I was like, all right, let's do it. So this is a Spencer battle, and here's what it does. Like, and then we got into it. So that was like the beginning, middle, and end of my experience with Twilight. So for somebody who's not a fan and had no exposure, that's a bit of exposure.
And that was it for years, right?
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah. That was it for years. And then, you know, you see the posters, the movie posters. I see T-shirts. It's around. Yeah. I see the commercials for it. And then it kind of died down. And then I moved here. And there's a literal festival here. And there's stores here for Twilight merchandise.
All dedicated to Twilight.
All dedicated to Twilight, or at least profiting from Twilight in some way. If you go to the grocery store here, there's always Twilight merchandise at our local grocery store. And good for them. I don't want anything I have to say to impact the economic boon that Twilight brings to my town. Again, I don't think you shouldn't like it. But I am wondering why you do. So, let's unpack this. Movie 1 of Twilight is called Twilight. That's it? It didn't have a subtitle?
No.
All right, look. So, Bella moves to Forks.
From Phoenix.
Which, relatable. It's kind of what you did.
Yeah, it's exactly what I did.
Exactly what you did. And goes to Forks High School. By the way, they showed a couple of bits of B-roll, and then none of these buildings that are in the movies are in Forks.
None of them exist here.
If you come to Forks wanting to see, like, oh my gosh, I saw the movies Twilight, I have to see Forks, and then you get to Forks, like, I feel bad for the fans.
Yeah, you will be disappointed.
Where you want to go is Vancouver in Canada. Like, that's, like, I'm assuming where a lot of this was shot. That in Portland. Yeah, in Portland. I love my little town. I fucking love Forks. I love living here. I think it's really cute here. I like the buildings here. I love it here. This is totally my speed. But if you saw the movies and you're like, I'm going to go to Forks and experience Twilight. No, the fuck you're not. Like, they're like, no, you're not. It's none of that is here. So none of it looks the same.
I think the only thing that they shot was the sign and a little bit of the high school. But other than that.
Yeah, but even the high school doesn't look like the high school here.
No, not on the outside.
Not on the outside at all. So Bella gets to Forks. Dude's managed to keep his secret that he is a 100-plus-year-old vampire, and he's managed to keep that secret for over 100 years by going to high school repeatedly. And somehow this makes sense, okay? Suspend your systems of disbelief. And he also keeps his, like, secret identity a secret, but then doesn't let Bella get squished by a van. And then dents the shit out of the van, too, in the process, by the way. It was a dope van.
And the truck.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and the truck gets a dent, too.
I think the only thing you liked about the movies was that the cars were good. The trucks were great.
Okay, hang on. This is going to be wildly disorganized. Yes, her truck was amazing. A couple of the other vans and trucks and things in there were really good. The werewolf's car was cool. I liked that. Why does the vampire that everybody wants to bone drive a goddamn Volvo?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and not a cool one. It wasn't like an XC70. all murdered out on rims or anything. It was just a Volvo. I couldn't even tell you what kind, and I'm a car guy. It was just a Volvo, generic car, shaped car. It was awful. And he kept having it in every movie. Like, what the balls? It was like, they didn't upgrade that over time.
No,
after the first
it was
one made
a
so
weird,
much
like,
money.
hatchback wagon type Volvo.
And I'm not hating on the Hatchies, man, but goddamn, like, it was so bad. Hi, fam. Hey, Shar. We're talking about when you came to town and you made me watch Twilight. Now we're filming an episode about what I really think about that. So enjoy your trauma. And I love you, and please keep watching. So, drives a freaking Volvo, which is a problem. And she just, like, uncovers. She goes to a library, and she's like, I'm pretty sure this guy's a vampire. And she goes to a library in Port Angeles and gets some books, and she reads some books. She's like, oh, shit, vampire. And then she confronts him. She's like, I bet you're a vampire. He's like, bitch, you right. And
he's like, what?
And you should be scared. And being a vampire makes me bad. Here's some self-deprecating things, and now let's make out. And it was ridiculous. Like, everything about that was stupid.
No, see, the first movie is he was trying to tell her, you should stay away from me, you should stay away from me. At no point in this movie was she actually going after him. He kept coming after her.
Yeah!
And he's like, hey, stay away from me.
And she was like, okay.
That's fine. And then the next scene later, he's like stalking her and then coming back, you really should stay away. She's
yeah, well, he's like watching her sleep and shit.
Yeah.
It's gross.
By no means was she actually going after him. Yeah.
But then she finds out his secret. Now he can be himself.
Yeah.
Oh.
And she's going to accept him for everything.
Yeah. And then the most unrealistic part of this whole franchise, by the way, is not the vampires or the werewolves or some of them, I guess, I don't know, fly or whatever. It wasn't the sparkling. The most unrealistic part is them romantically in some meadow outside of Forks on the Olympic Peninsula, laying down in the grass, on a sunny day
with purple flowers.
Absolutely the fuck not.
If you know anything about Forks, you do not lay down in the grass.
Or anywhere in the Pacific Northwest or any forest you've ever been in. If you encounter a meadow, it's squidgy. It's gross.
It's gross.
And there are purple flowers here, and they're lovely. They don't look like that, but who cares? Like, okay, fine. You use prop flowers. That's lovely. That's fine. But the fact that they're laying down outside, you have a muddy butt crack as soon as you do that. As soon as you do that, you have moss in your ears. You have slugs in your
nose.
In your armpits. Your mushrooms are in your toes. You have become one with the forest floor immediately. Everything out here is eating everything else, and everything is damp.
It's so damp.
Yeah, she did that in a flannel, making like that was okay, not in a tarp. Like, you put down a tarp first, and then a blanket, and then you fold both up, put them back in your truck, and then go home when you realize your idea is dumb. Like, don't do that. Oh, my God. So bad.
It was so unrealistic.
It's so bad. Oh, man.
I want to find that meadow, though. It looked like the grass was actually dry.
Yeah, wherever that is.
Wherever. There's no
Anywhere grass is dry, it's dead.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's right.
There's
During
no
the
dry grass.
summertime, it's dead.
Yeah.
It's brown.
So dumb. So anyway, so then she uncovers a secret, and then, like, that's the movie. I think. Is basically the movie, right? Oh, yeah. And then some other vampires, bad vampires come because there's bad vampires, there's good vampires, and there's some that are like vegan vampires. And,
yeah.
And then there's other vampires that eat people, but they all want to eat people. And it's all very disturbing and puzzling.
Throughout all the series, though, I could have sworn Bella hit her head like 5,000 times.
Oh my God, she has so many concussions.
So many concussions.
Her skull has extra gravity, and science should study it. She's constantly bouncing it off of shit, and stuff, like, objects are always wildly attracted to it, and it's like this whole deal.
She's always getting flung.
Yeah. And you can turn into a vampire by venom. Vampires have venom somehow. I don't know. It's very stupid. But anyway... There's these bad vampires that really want Bella because everybody wants Bella for some reason, even though she is the saltine crackers of human persons. She has no personality whatsoever. And this is part of what it was. I got this impression at the Twilight fanfic thing when I was like, everybody's telling me about like Edward, and like Jacob. Like, somebody tell me something compelling about Bella. And I actually polled the audience. And nobody could say anything. And I was like, so this bitch is just like a blank canvas that you could project your own self onto, who's described as little as possible to make it easier for you to fantasize about yourself being in the story, right? And they were like, oh. Yeah. I was like, all right. I guess that served its purpose, but if you're wanting to make a more compelling fiction, maybe describe your characters. And they were like, okay, cool. And then all of a sudden I'm giving literary notes, and I'm standing there with a whip and a paddle in my hand and a mini dress. fucking stilettos up to the nines.
You're giving them grammar advice? And
No, literary
Oh
advice,
God.
not grammar advice. Listen to me talk.
Oh, man.
I'm not here for grammar, fools. But anyway, fast forwarding to we're watching the movies, and like that's like basically the first movie, and then Edward has to go away because being near her is somehow dangerous. That's the theme. If I'm no good for you, baby, like it's like a third of all country songs. It's so stupid. And then he goes away. So then the second movie happens. The second movie is called Twilight. Eclipse. Right.
No, New Moon?
Is it?
I think it's New Moon.
Who cares? Anyway, some celestial phenomena. Twilight, Mercury now retrograde, or whatever the fuck.
Oh, God. No.
But so now he's gone, and he ran away to some place that at the beginning of the movie is essentially unknown.
Right.
And now she's spending all of her time with Jacob the werewolf, who, by the way, Quileute tribe is a real tribe. They're real people. They're not werewolves. Stop coming to town and asking them to do werewolf shit. It's weird. It's rude. People do that. And I've never understood it.
It's so mean.
It is. It's fucked up.
Guys.
But anyway, he's both a werewolf. That's not the problem. The problem is that he's super rapey. And he's constantly coming onto her. And at one point, he kisses her when she doesn't want it. She punches him, fucking breaks her hand on him because he's a werewolf. And I guess they've got super strength. Because everybody in the world has super strength except for Bella.
Right, and she's being flung around, hitting her head
later on somebody else because she's always getting her fucking bell rung. Later on, Edward finds out that Jacob kissed her and goes, "You kissed her?" And she goes, like she didn't want it. And then he goes, "Yeah, but she wanted it even if she wouldn't admit it." No!
Like, no!
Not admitting that she wanted it and then you kissed her anyway is a sexual advance without consent. Like it's textbook. It's the very definition of it. She punched you after. That's how you know.
She didn't want it.
She didn't want that. And then they still remain friends, which also makes her part of the problem.
Right.
Which, serious issue. And then, I don't know, Edward has to run away to Italy to go get murdered, to ask nicely to be murdered because he thinks that she died because she went cliff diving and one of the vampires had a vision that said, "Oh, she died."
No,
and
she just got knocked the fuck out.
She got knocked the fuck out because that's like her whole deal.
Whole deal. I don't even remember how she got rescued. I think she was on the beach.
Yeah,
and the dudes found her.
This is another fucking theme. It's always, this girl is in trouble, and then the dudes are always the solution. She can't get out of anything for herself. She can't do anything for herself. She can't make decisions for herself. All the decisions she does make are bad, and nobody respects her choices at all. But also, she really doesn't make any. Like, even if she made a choice, they'd just be like, "Nah, you're gonna do this instead." And she goes, "Okay."
Do people assume all your problems got solved because a big, strong man showed up?
Yes, what is up with that?
Like, it's the whole...
That's true.
It's so gross. Don't let your teenage daughters watch this. Like, it's so bad. So, then she has to go away to Italy to rescue him from...
killing himself.
From killing himself because of weird Italian-themed vampire suicide.
And can we just mention that these Italian vampires have no accent whatsoever?
Why do all the vampires in Italy have British accents?
It makes no sense.
Yeah. Huh. I mean, I like that we got Michael Sheen in there.
Oh, he was the best part of the movie.
Who is an absolute treasure, but has really bad hair in these movies. I mean, real bad. But I love him.
I love him.
But the character terrible. And then that's that movie. And then that's the end of that movie. And then the third movie is either New Moon or Eclipse.
No, it's Eclipse.
It's New Moon first and then Eclipse?
I believe so.
So both of these have no moons in them. Because a new moon is no moon.
An eclipse
eclipse happens during the day. But somehow, fucking werewolves. From a scientific perspective, I've got a lot of questions.
Hold on. But these werewolves they don't transform during the night or anything.
No, they just transform at will, just be shredding jeans left and right. Jeans are expensive and they just be blowing them up all over the place. Like, fuck these Levi's. And then, third movie opens with like they're getting married.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he proposes.
Yeah.
She, like, keeps asking, like, hey, can we bone? Can we bone? Can we bone? He was like, it wouldn't be proper until we're married. I'm like, oh my God, tell me these books were written by a Mormon without telling me they were written by a Mormon. Really? You're going to spend eternity with somebody without knowing whether or not they can fucking bang? Like, you don't even know if they can throw it?
Charlie has us.
Twilight, New Moon, Eclipse, Breaking Dawn Part 1, and then Breaking Dawn Part 2. Thank you so much, Charlie. I love you.
She's got us.
I cannot believe she's still here for this. You were so nice putting up with me right now because she is a fan of this. And I wish to reiterate, if you were a fan of this series and it makes you feel some kind of way, I love Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I'm not any better. My fandom is not, the thing I'm a fan of is not any more ridiculous or... Well, it's a lot less misogynistic than this, but not totally not misogynistic. We'll get to that. We'll cover Buffy one day. But anyway, coming back to this. Back at you, Char. So we're watching the movies, and then third movie comes, and then building up to it, and now they're engaged. And he gives her the ugliest engagement ring I've ever seen in my life. What the fuck do I know? I'm the one that proposed. I didn't get an engagement ring. Didn't want it. Not wearing one right now. But it's still icky. And now I understand why you see, like, rip-offs of that ring. In all the tchotchke shops around town. I'm like, okay. If you come to Forks and you bring your boyfriend and he likes that you like this thing and then he bought you one of those fake engagement rings while you were in Forks, I bet that's super sweet and romantic, and I hope everybody keeps doing it. Like, good for you. And I hope the stores make a lot of money. Like, I'm not shitting on that at all, but that ring ugly.
It was like a white opal, right?
No, it's a big giant oval, and it's got a bunch of little tiny stones all in it, and it's huge, like the kind of costume jewelry my Nana used to wear.
Yeah.
I don't know. Fucking Nana was ballin'. I don't. But then I thinking like they're gonna build up to it, and then the wedding's gonna be the wedding's in the first act.
Yeah, it's like the first 20 minutes.
Yeah, and they make a big deal. Like, Bella is not interested in her own wedding at all. She is interested in getting to bone and be immortal. Those are her priorities, and I gotta say, it's the first time I've liked her.
I became a vampire to suck blood and to fuck forever.
Like, in the whole thing, I'm just like, this bitch just wants to get laid and get superpowers. I am here for this. All right, they're gonna get laid and have superpowers. I mean, yeah, I'd be excited about that too. She didn't care about the wedding dress. Somebody else picked that.
Yep.
She didn't plan the wedding at all. They get married like immediately after high school. Very Mormon thing to do. She couldn't even walk in her own damn shoes. They even have a scene about her trying to break in her like wedding heels, which are these like glorious, beautiful satin coated stilettos, but she's a sneakers girl. She can't wear them.
No, and also I can't wear heels at all to save my life.
No, having been a model for years, I'm done with stilettos. I'll never get back in them again. And high heels are a tool of the patriarchy, and you'll never overthrow the government unless you're in sneakers.
In the Pacific Northwest, like outside.
Yeah, and it's an outdoor wedding.
No, you can't wear high heels.
I got married in hiking boots.
No, I think I got married in sneakers. I don't remember. No, I don't remember.
You could block it out.
I did.
Let's high five your divorce again. All right. But so they get married and everything, and then there's this scene, like she invites Jacob, the quasi would-be rapist, who she shouldn't be friends with anymore, to the wedding. They have a scene aside where he's like, I guess you're gonna be a vampire tonight. And she's like, no, it's gonna be after the honeymoon. And he's like, what?
Oh, he was so pissed off.
He was so mad. He's like, you'll kill her. And I'm like, what kind of sex are they about to have? And can I have some? Like, at that point, you had my attention. But she's not listening at all. She was just like, yeah, murder sex. Let's do it. Murder sex. I'm paraphrasing, by the way. If you haven't seen these movies already, you're in for it. So anyway, they go to the honeymoon. They have a whole bunch of sex, which is he is trying to be gentle, but he's got super strength, and she's still a frail human.
And then the first time he hurt her, like the first night, then he refused to have sex with her, like the whole time. Then it was like 2 weeks of her just trying to be, hey.
Yeah, do it again. Do it again.
Yeah.
Pull my hair a little this time.
Yeah.
I get it.
And he's like, nah. It's like, I'm just so ashamed of my own strength.
Yeah, it's like.
It was so weird.
Bro, she was into it. Like, not at this point, by the way, at this point of the story, I'm not hating on Bella at all. Like, this is the one moment where I was just like, all right, girl, get yours. But then bitch gets pregnant. So, on her honeymoon, gets morning sickness because she's pregnant with a supernatural baby that is developing abnormally fast, and she doesn't even get to enjoy her own honeymoon. We have to immediately follow sex with the consequences of
your actions.
Of a birth. which is, again, another overtly Christian ideal that is like shoehorned into this weird story about vampires that are hundreds of years old, fucking teenage girls, and now we gotta have morals. I don't know, you're putting it in the wrong spot. And then the rest of the movie is just like a death march of this baby eating her from the inside out, and then you watch her like just become this desiccated corpse. She's a bundle of sticks.
She already had no weight on her.
Yeah, but then she gets incredibly thin because the baby's killing her. Right? And then they go back to the home in Forks or the Cullen home or whatever, and she's gestating this ridiculous supernatural baby that's trying to eat her from the inside out, and which is basically birth. Like, the rest of the movie is basically body horror, which is what pregnancy is to me anyway. Check me in the comments if you want to tell me pregnancy isn't body horror. Like, I'm sorry. No. Ick. Stop it. But she wants to keep the baby. Half the vampires in the family are like, get rid of the fetus.
Yeah.
And then a couple of other of the vampires are like, you mean the baby? Like, they keep, like, they shoehorn in this whole, like, heavy-handed metaphor for pro-choice versus anti-choice. I'm not going to call them pro-life. I'm sorry, I can't. They're anti-choicers. No. And then anyway, so then it turns out she needs to start drinking human blood because that's what the baby needs, which of course it does because the baby's creepy and weird. And then she has the baby and she dies.
Yeah, straight up dead.
And that's the movie. Oh, hang on. They also bite her like a bunch of times trying to bring her back to life.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, he bites the corpse like repeatedly. Like, this bitch is dead. And he's like, nom, nom, nom. And then I think we're meant to understand, since they gave her morphine when she went into labor, that like delayed the reaction of the vampire venom.
I missed that
poison
part.
sauce.
Poison sauce.
I was intently paying attention because I was trying desperately to follow what was happening.
Got it.
And then she died, and then it's fucking almost roll credits, and then eyeballs snap open, and they're the vampire color of eyeball, which is like the golden.
And then we go into the fourth movie.
Breaking Dawn Part 2. Thank you, Charlie. And now she's a vampire. So, by the way, where are all these t-shirts coming from? Team Edward and Team Jacob. At no point did Jacob ever have a shot. At no point did she demonstrate barely the slightest of romantic interest in Jacob.
No, he tried to insert himself so many times.
Yes. Quite literally. Yeah.
It was pretty gross.
It was gross. And then he's hanging around for the whole... Oh, yeah, and, like, she needs him around for the pregnancy. This is the other weird thing.
Oh.
Is she's, like, weirdly attached to Jacob for the whole pregnancy thing, because it turns out that baby's already in love with him, or something. Baby's born, and then he Wolfie imprints on the baby.
Which, by the way, is really gross.
It's really gross.
I think that's putting it lightly. Like, oh my god, this baby is born, and now it's my soulmate. At no point did the baby have any...
Well, that's the whole theme, is that girls don't choose their future. Like, that's the entire fucking theme of this, is that even when there's the illusion of choice, there's not a choice.
Right. Even at birth.
Yeah. So he, like, lays claim to the baby in some very weird, overtly protective way. Bella's mad about it at first, and then she's like, nah, okay, I guess she's got a really solid sitter until he starts fucking her. or whatever I'm supposed to accept about that situation.
God.
But the baby's got superpowers because she's a vampire-human hybrid baby with a wolf nanny.
By the way, the baby is creepy as shit.
The baby's very creepy. It's very upsetting. But the baby grows really fast.
Uh-huh.
And then all the vampire, like, word makes it back to the Italian vampires that don't have Italian accents.
Right.
And then they have to come to Forks to kill everybody. Because they think that somebody made a vampire out of the baby instead of the baby being born a vampire. And one is okay and one is not.
You know,
because vampires have scruples. And there are things that are an affront to their culture. Fucking teenagers is not one of those scruples.
Apparently not.
But turning babies into vampires is one.
You know, it reminds me of that funny episode on What We Do in the Shadows where they were talking about, was it What We Do in the Shadows?
Yes.
Where
Laszlo made the baby in the Bronx.
And he's like 300 years old.
300-year-old vampire baby. That poor baby. Why would you do that?
That 300-year-old man is stuck in this baby body.
Yeah. Just mad. Ah!
They say I turned a baby into a vampire and left it in the Bronx. Who would do such a thing? But if I ever find out who did it, I will take a dagger and stab them 5,000 times with this hand, switch hands, and stab them another 5,000 times.
Wouldn't want to be him.
That poor baby.
Poor baby.
Made me think of the same shit. What We Do in the Shadows is amazing. Definitely watch that. Those are good vampires. We like those. Yeah, and so then they're like trying to amass armies from all over the world to come defend this one baby.
And at no point, suddenly there's 20 vampires living in this house. I'm like, how the fuck did these guys get here again?
Yeah, and they're from all over the place.
Oh yeah, let's just forego everyone's backstory and let's just bring everyone here.
Yeah, and then certain vampires get superpowers, and Bella does get a superpower, and her superpower is being a shield.
Yeah.
So again, her only use is what benefits others.
Yeah.
It's even down to you couldn't even give her laser vision or she can't have telekinesis or whatever. There's one vampire that makes you hurt when she looks at your face, and she's got the psychic smack you ups or whatever.
Yeah. Then the other guy, there's one other guy who has all the powers of the Avatar, all the elements. And everything.
And
that's fucking
and
cool.
Bella could just keep her boyfriend from getting beat up because everything about her is defined by her use to him. It's all it's so many. So gross. This is not romance, guys. This is misogyny romanticized.
And a hostage situation.
Yeah, very weird hostage situation. And then they have a whole fucking battle syndrome? Scene. Oh, very much Stockholm Syndrome. But then all the vampires from Italy and all of their allies show up.
Yep.
And then they do battle in this snowy plain of flat, open space with no trees in it, which apparently exists just outside of town. It doesn't.
We have looked.
No.
Just like that meadow.
There's the one prairie that you drive through on your way to the lake.
Yeah.
But that is all private property and you will get shot. Whether you're a vampire or not, idiot. You're not going there. The elk go there, but that's it. But anyway, they battle here, and then this whole fucking battle ensues. And a bunch of the vampires get their heads pulled off because
there's a lot of beheadings in this.
The main way to dispose of vampires is to pull their heads off because they're secretly made out of porcelain.
Oh, for the heads!
Right.
Why are the vampires ceramic? Can anybody explain to me why these vampires are... Where this bitch came up with this shit, I don't know. This bitch being the person who wrote it. Who wrote fucking Twilight?
Stephanie Meyer.
You would know. That was a trap. And you fell into it.
Shit.
So yeah, Stephanie Meyer. I don't know why are the vampires ceramic and full of glitter, weird ceramic piñatas. I don't know.
You're right.
So there's all this breaking sounds all over. Is it so that because without all the blood on the snow, then it can be PG-13?
Right. Yeah.
Right. And more people can see it. But
this was made for the Mormon audience, so you can't have blood and gore.
Well, yeah, of course. But you can fuck children. I'm gonna keep bringing it back to that. Because Twilight is for groomers. Okay? It's a story about a groomer. It makes grooming more comfortable. If you've already seen this and you think that that's love and romance, it would make you more susceptible to grooming later. Mm-hmm. It's fucked up. It's fucked up. I'm going to stick with that. I'm sorry to everybody in town who might see this and think that I'm against the thing that brings money to town. I'm not against it. I think we should call it what it is. I think we should look at it with a critical eye and examine a society which perpetuates these things and allows us to profit off them. But also, I'm a capitalist. Make that money on them ugly rings. Do it. So I'm torn, right? So they have this whole battle. Mm-hmm. Bunch of the main characters. And it's the last movie. And it's the last movie, right? Yeah. It's Breaking Dawn Part 2. It's the last movie. So all bets are off, right? All bets are off at the end of the franchise. You could kill anybody. And so there's all these heart-wrenching moments of main characters, some of the more support characters, the wolves, and everybody gets killed. And Big Daddy Vampire Cullen, Carlisle or whatever his name, he gets killed. And when he got killed, I was like, I had a feeling, which I hated. I had to cram it down. I'm like, not feelings about this. But even I was like, oh my God, that's terrible. And I was emotionally invested, and then they undo it all. The whole battle was a vision. It didn't even really happen. And it was a vision that they planted in the head of the main Italian vampire, who's Michael Sheen. And then they go, you really want to go, bro? Because this is what happens and you're one of the casualties. And he was like, nah, man, I'm cool. We came all this way. We're going to get some poutine on the way back home because we're secretly actually in Canada. And then we're going to go back to Italy. And then That's like the end of the movie, basically, except there's one more vision at the end. Oh, and they buy Bella a house, which, like, at the end,
I thought they made her.
They get done, and then, like, while they're wrapping up all the storylines and everything, they give Bella a key, and they're like, the happy late wedding present or whatever, and it's like a cottage in the woods, which is very charming and lovely. It's a very pretty place, and I would totally live there.
No point was she, like, involved in choice.
No, she didn't choose it, and then she goes in, and they're like, oh, Alice picked all your clothes, and she opens the closet, and there's a whole bunch of high fashion there, and she's like, I can tell, and she's totally, like, she didn't even get to pick her own clothes. She didn't pick where she lived, she didn't pick her own clothes, she didn't pick anything about her goddamn life, and she's fine with it. And we're supposed to understand that it is our duty to have these choices made for us. Mm-hmm. And the most romantic thing is that those choices are made for us. And even if they're not choices we would make, we go,
thanks.
Ew, puke, no. Absolutely not. And then they close it out with a vision of her and Edward all sparkly on the beach. I think they're sparkling. I don't know. Everybody sparkles a lot. And then grown-up baby is with Jacob.
Oh, yeah.
Who they said she's going to be fully grown when she's 7. And now she's going to be fully grown when she's 7. And so this is at some point, because remember, the other parents are immortal. So who knows how old this kid really is at this point. She could conceivably be between the ages of 7 and 10 years old and romantically involved with that werewolf boy who is a grown-ass man. Yeah. And it's totally fine.
You guys.
And then the credits roll and pretty music plays and I love my daughter and I love Charlie. I do. And I know you guys are going to see this. And Charlie, I think, might still be watching right now. And I'm so sorry. But watching you guys swoon over that made me feel like a failure as a parent. Have I taught you nothing? This is a horror story. The call is coming from inside the house most of the time. Choose better partners than this. Like, for the love of shit, none of this is okay. Everything about this is bad. And now that I have seen Twilight, because a lot of people said, Cat Jack, just give it a chance. You live in Forks, just give it a chance. Okay, I've seen it.
She did.
I do. And I hate it more. I hate it worse. I hate it so much more. It's so much. And if somebody fucking gets on the comments and tries to tell me, but you really have to read the books because the movies are different. No, I don't. I don't have to read the books. In fact, I can be an authority on this without having read the books or seen the movies. Somebody will still pay me to talk about it. Twilight is bullshit. I'm angry at it. And the revolution's never going to end. Like, we're never going to win. We'll never defeat the patriarchy. Ever. If there's this many women consuming this much of whatever this is and thinking that this is romance, we're so fucked. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Yeah. Wear your goddamn sneakers, choose your own clothes, choose your own house, choose your own partner, make sure he's not 100 years older than you, because ew. And you'll never overthrow the patriarchy in high heels. Ever. Liberate yourself, get yourself some sneakers. And definitely don't cry yourself to sleep at night over some baby dick loser driving a goddamn Volvo. Cheers, bitches. Anyway, what did you think about Twilight?
Oh my god.
Charlie's still here and she's laughing. I do love you, Charlie. And I support you being a fan. I do. This is where I end up on both sides of the thing, where I'm just like, I want people to have their fandom, but I've been asked repeatedly. Right. What do you think?
What do you think?
Don't ask me.
This is what she thinks.
This is what I think.
And I agree with her.
You read the books and watched the movies when you were a kid.
Yeah.
What'd you think then? Did you go, oh?
No, back then I thought it was romantic. But that was because it was also, like, meant for me and the way that I was growing up. It was
you did grow up in the whole Christian cult thing. I did.
So, yeah, that's what I thought. But also, when I left, I was like, oh, that's weird.
So what was it like watching those a month ago?
It was...
As an adult, ignore me burping. I made really good biscuits and gravy.
Dude, she did.
Not good on the rerun, though. Anyway, what did you think? So charming. I'm pretty right now. I did my hair for this. What did you think? How did it, like, now that you're in your mid-30s, having that same experience of watching those with girls who thought it was romantic?
It creeped me the fuck out. Like, I was like, this is a whole hostage Stockholm syndrome and I thought this was good writing. It was...
And I thought this was good writing?
No, it was meant for me back then.
No, you were definitely the target demographic.
Yeah, but also, like, I didn't have the concept of choice either. So, like, for me, I thought that was...
Right, you got to get out of high school and immediately get married. Is that Linda trying to claw her way into this room right now?
Should we end the podcast so I could...
I mean, we probably should wrap it.
Just for this one. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I thought it was like, as an adult now, like, I'm like, how? Why? And I was hoping that I wouldn't watch the movies again. But you know what?
We did. We pulled a Twilight marathon, and
it was funny though. I loved watching your reactions to the whole thing.
I was I'm sitting on the couch with my family, and these girls really love these movies, and I'm trying so hard. And I'm just like, all right, just ask questions. Just like, then this is okay with you? And I'm like, I'm looking at what's happening on the screen. I'm like, we think this is...
I did enjoy the fact that she, like, hit her head so many goddamn times, though. Like, that was fun.
Oh my God.
Like, I could have made a drinking game out of that. It was great.
Well, and it was the same thing in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, too. Like, a good head injury was a good way to be like, okay, this character is now... This is a metaphor for their weakness, and we need somebody... Like, we need to create a moment that allows somebody else to be a hero, and it's a very good way to do it.
Concussion, boom.
Yeah, but it's like, you see it so often in TV and movies that people don't realize what happens when you hit your head hard enough to be knocked out. It's actually super bad for you. Yeah. I'm a survivor of a traumatic brain injury. Mm-hmm. You don't get better from a traumatic brain injury, by the way. You just get different. You adapt to the... I have a traumatic brain injury right now. I have a TBI. It was not given to me by a vampire. It was a boat wreck. I was concussed and drowned and then run over by a boat, and all these things happen in a different order. I can't remember because I had a traumatic brain injury. But like, and it was just one time, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm different forever. Like, this bitch got hit over and over and over again, and she was just, and all it did was make her more eager. You know, that's what it was. It was the brain damage. She was just like, yep, I'll get married the day after graduation, and then we'll have a bunch of violent sex, and then I'll have a baby that wants to eat me, and then we'll live happily ever after where I don't pick my own underpants. Like, that's fucking brain damage. Thank you for letting me get all that out of my system. If you have a movie you'd like me to review,
talk about Honest Trailer.
Yeah. If you have anything that you'd like us to see and then talk about, don't make it something that you love unless you don't want to love it anymore.
I think you should.
Let us know in the comments down below. We do have a couple of things that we have left out because even though she's not in the live today.
Oh, that's right.
Time for everybody's favorite recurring segment. Hi, Brandy! We know Brandy couldn't join us in the live today because she's like having a family and doing things, but it's fine. And whatever.
It's fine.
Pick up your Hi Brandy t-shirts and other Feral and Unfiltered merchandise at feralandunfiltered.com. Thank you for updating the merchandise, by the way. It all looks spectacular.
Yeah.
Like, subscribe, follow, share. Definitely. Oh my God! Please share this with your friends who like Twilight, who drive you nuts. If you're somebody like me, where you're like, why do my friends like Twilight? Share this with them. That'd be great. Would love their hate mail. Anything else you'd like to add? No.
I don't think so.
Great co-host. Oh man, did we do it?
Make your own choices.
Make your own choices. Oh my fucking God.
Choose your own partners that let you make your own choice too. Jesus Christ.
That encourage you, that support you to make your own choice.
In every goddamn way.
Yeah. My spouse does not let me do anything. I don't let him do anything either. Mm-hmm. I ask him what he's doing and how can I help, and vice versa. You've been living with it for a while.
Yeah.
We're pretty reasonable partners. Yeah. You can do it. They're out there. Be pickier. Not the first guy that you're like, oh, that guy's hot in high school. I mean, yeah, bone him, but like, don't build a life. Shit. So you've been watching the Feral and Unfiltered podcast. I'm Cat Jack.
And I'm Red.
And we'll see you next time. Unless you're a Twilight fan, then we might never see you again.
Oh, well.
I'll miss you.
She won't.
I won't. Podcast! Ooh.
Yeah, you good?
That was a journey, bro. I'm a little lightheaded. I don't know. He gave himself a hot flash.
All right, let's cut.
Woo!
All
Got
right.
it down. Ah!